let me ask you a question that honestly, it kind of haunts me.
Sure.
Think back to your school days. Why is it that we spend a decade, maybe even more, learning English in school? I mean, we dissect the grammar, we memorize lists of irregular verbs,
Yeah.
we read the textbooks until the pages fall out, and yet, if you dropped the average student in the middle of New York today, they'd struggle to order a coffee.
Let alone hold a real deep conversation.
Exactly.
It's the great paradox of language education, isn't it? We treat language like it's math or history.
Something to be analyzed.
Right, dissected and studied from a distance. But then we expect to perform it like it's music or sports.
And that distinction between studying a subject and performing a skill, that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into a really radical listening first methodology. It's a system built around this massive serialized novel called New Harbor City Dreams. And it makes a very bold promise.
It does, a very bold promise.
It promises native level fluency. And they define that specifically a 20,000 word vocabulary within 3 years.
Right.
And I have to say, when I first saw 3 years, I thought, okay, that's a long time. But then I saw 20,000 words.
And that's the key. Just to put that in context for everyone listening.
Yeah.
20,000 words is massive.
It's huge.
That is roughly the active vocabulary of an educated native speaker. Most learners, even the ones who, passed all the tests, they plateau at maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
So this isn't about just getting by.
No, this is about total mastery.
But the roadmap to get there is, well, it's completely backwards compared to how I was taught. It starts with this concept they call body sense. Can we start there? Because when I think of learning a language, I think of my brain, my memory, flashcards. I don't think of my body.
Right, and the source material argues that's the fundamental mistake. They argue language isn't primarily an intellectual subject. It's a somatic skill or a haptic skill.
Okay, pause there. Somatic and haptic. We're getting technical early. What do those actually mean in this context?
Somatic just means relating to the body, as distinct from the mind. Haptic is about the sense of touch or physical sensation. The argument is that you need to shift which part of the brain is driving the bus.
Okay.
You have the left hemisphere, the rational brain. That's your logic, text, grammar rules, analysis. That's where school lives.
That's where I live when I'm pausing mid-sentence to conjugate a verb in my head.
Exactly. And that's why you freeze. You're trying to use a calculator to paint a picture. But then you have the right hemisphere, the sensory brain. That's intuition, rhythm, feeling. The methodology here says real fluency is a G decision.
A G decision.
A gut decision. It's visceral. It's like the fight or flight response.
Okay.
If a tiger jumps out at you, you don't calculate the trajectory of its leap. You just move. Language should be that automatic.
The sources use a great analogy about riding a bike, which I think everyone can relate to. You can't learn to ride a bike by reading a physics textbook about gravity.
No. You have to get on the bike. And crucially, at some point, you have to let go of the handlebars.
You have to let go of the grammar rules.
Yes, to find that body sense, that equilibrium. If you're constantly gripping the handlebars of translation and analysis, you never actually learn to ride. You just learn to hold on for dear life.
So how do we actually let go? Because this method pushes a listening first rule that seems pretty intense. It advocates for something called blind listening.
It's designed to mimic how babies acquire their mother tongue. Think about it.
Right.
A baby listens for years before they ever see a written word. They absorb the soundscape first. Blind listening means you listen to the audio material without seeing the text.
Just audio, no text at all. That sounds incredibly frustrating. If I don't know the words, isn't it just noise?
Initially, yes. But that frustration is actually the point.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at the text too early, your left brain, that analytical side, it just takes over. Start trying to decode the letters. Blind listening forces the right brain to wake up.
So you have to hunt for the rhythm.
The rhythm, the emotion, the intonation. You're forcing your brain to map sound directly to meaning, skipping the text entirely.
But practically speaking, that sounds exhausting. How do you sustain that level of focus without burning out?
Well, they don't want you to sprint. The sources compare it to radio gymnastics.
Radio gymnastics? Is that like aerobics?
It's sort of a cultural reference to daily calisthenics. The idea is you don't go to the gym once, lift a car, and then never go back.
Right. You get injured.
You do light, rhythmic exercise every single day. This method suggests about 2 hours a day, but it's all about consistency, not cramming. It's daily exposure until those sounds become muscle memory.
Okay, I get consistency. But you can't just listen to the news for 2 hours. You need content. And this is where the new Harbor City Dreams thing comes in. When I first read about this, I kind of laughed because they aren't using textbooks. They're basically using a soap opera.
Essentially, yes. A massive serialized novel. And the scale of this thing is honestly impressive. It's a 3-volume saga that spans 100 years of history.
I read it covers everything from the Mayflower landing to colonizing Mars. That seems like a lot of ground.
It is. It's about 220,000 words of text, but it's engineered. It's not random. It's designed to target those 20,000 high-frequency vocabulary words. And the genius is in the characters.
They aren't just like Bob and Mary go to the library.
No, not at all. The characters represent specific vocabulary domains.
Right, like Alex. He's the Polytechnic guy.
Yes, so Alex covers your STEM, engineering, and tech vocabulary. Then you have Brooke, who's an entrepreneur, so his story introduces business, finance, that kind of thing.
And then there's Diana. She starts as a rural girl, but becomes the vice president of a hospital.
So her storyline is the medical textbook.
Exactly.
But, and this is key, it's not a dry list of diseases. It's a story. There's a specific example in the source material of a hospital scene where Phoenix, who is Alex's wife, is giving birth.
Okay, so it's a high-stakes, emotional scene.
It is. It's intense. Mm-hmm. And in that context, you're hearing words like obstetric ward, perinatal contractions, oxytocin.
You aren't just memorizing them for a quiz.
No. You're associating the word oxytocin with the scream, with the pain, with the relief of the baby crying.
It provides an emotional tag.
Exactly. That emotional tag acts like Velcro. It makes the vocabulary stick in your sensory brain much better than a flashcard ever could. You remember the feeling of the word?
Not just the definition.
Right.
So we have the method listening first and the content, this epic saga. But let's talk about the words themselves, because English vocabulary is a nightmare. It feels completely random. But you found something in the transcripts called the ecological system.
This was the biggest aha moment for me.
Yeah.
The method argues that we teach words all wrong. We usually teach them alphabetically or just in random lists. Here, they teach them by bloodlines.
Bloodlines.
Words have families. If you understand the DNA of the word, the etymology, you can learn 10 words for the price of 1. It creates a snowball effect.
Okay, walk us through one of these families. The one that really clicked for me was the whole or opening family. I never realized these were connected.
This is a classic example of what they call sound symbolism. The source argues there's a root logic where the structure of the letter P, followed by a vowel, followed by N, R, or L, it often indicates an opening or a hole.
So P vowel N gives us
open, to make a hole or a passage. Now, keep that concept of a hole in your mind, but change the ending to RT. You get port.
A port is a massive opening, a gate to the sea.
Exactly. Change it to IPE, you get pipe.
A long, deep hole.
A tube. Change it to ORE, you get pore.
The tiny holes in your skin.
Yeah.
So open, port, pipe, pore, they're all basically the same word, just wearing different clothes.
They share the same DNA. And this is where it gets really interesting. The system treats the letters P, B, and D as symmetric or interchangeable.
Why those letters?
They're phonetically related. They're all plosive sounds made with the lips or tongue. So if you swap that P for a B.
You get bore, like boring a hole in the ground.
Exactly. Bore is just a variation of the same whole concept. Once your brain sees that pattern, you stop memorizing distinct spellings and start seeing the underlying logic. It's not random. It's a system.
Okay, that happened again for me with the saying family, the quai sound.
The quo or Cree family. It almost always relates to speaking, asking, or seeking.
Give us a list.
Okay. Quote, to say something. Quest, to seek or ask for something. Inquire, to ask into. Quiz, a small asking.
Right.
Eloquent, speaking fluently, speaking out.
And the one that really stuck with me, and this was a genuine surprise, was the connection between question and conquest. I never put those two together.
They share the exact same root. A question is seeking an answer.
A conquest is seeking territory.
Or victory. They're both about the pursuit. When you realize that question and conquest are cousins, the language suddenly feels smaller. It feels more manageable.
It shrinks the task. Instead of 20,000 isolated facts, it's like 2,000 families.
Precisely. Just one more quick one. The edge family. Words ending in im or rim. Rim is an edge. Brim is the edge to the point of overflowing.
Limb.
The edge of the body.
It's incredibly consistent once you know where to look. But okay, skeptic hat back on.
Right.
We have the listening. We have the word families. But here's the thing that always trips me up, and I know our listeners struggle with this too. Pronunciation. I I see a long word in English. I have no idea which syllable to stress. It feels like a total guessing game.
And the expert in our source material is very firm on this. It is not a guessing game. He calls it natural phonics, and it's based on strict logical stress rules. He calls it the index finger rule.
The index finger rule.
Meaning the ending of the word, the tail points like a finger to exactly where the stress goes.
Right.
The left brain learns the rule once, and the right brain can apply it to thousands of words instantly.
Okay, prove it. Give us the big ones.
All right, take the ending ank. The rule is stress always falls on the syllable immediately before ank. Always.
Okay, so hero becomes he-are-ake.
Correct. History becomes hysteric. You don't have to guess. You see Ike, you hit the syllable before it.
What about H-idity, like in reality?
Same rule. Stress the syllable before elity. So real becomes re-elitati. Simple becomes state-celity.
And Charian, like musician.
Same again.
Music.
Becomes mu-cessation.
History.
Historian. Okay, I see it.
See? You're analyzing it now, but soon you'll just hear it. It stops being a rule you have to remember and starts being a rhythm you feel. That's the body sense, kicking in again.
That is a massive shortcut. But I have to play devil's advocate. If the answer is just immersion and listening, why do people say, oh, just go watch Netflix or read Game of Thrones? I mean, I love Game of Thrones, but I don't feel smarter after watching it.
This touches on what the sources call the trap of reading. They actually analyze this. They cite an experiment where someone read A Song of Ice and Fire the Books. That's 1.8 million words of text.
That is a huge amount of reading.
It is. But the result, the reader only retained about 500 new words.
Ouch. That's a terrible return on investment. Why so low? It's an efficiency problem. In a native novel, the vocabulary you don't know is scattered too thinly among the words you do know. You can follow the plot without learning the new words, so your brain just ignores them.
You're passively consuming, not actively acquiring.
Exactly. You need something that's designed to be hard.
But not too hard.
Right. You need what the linguist Stephen Krashen calls comprehensible input at the I+1 level. Learning happens just above your current level. The new Harbor City Dream material is designed with a 9% difficulty rate.
Meaning 9% of the words are new.
Yes. That's the sweet spot. It's hard enough to force you to learn. Your brain can't ignore it. But easy enough that you don't just give up. It ensures linear, measurable progress.
It was one other controversial thing I saw. They used the mother tongue. I was always told no translation, English only.
The immersion dogma, yeah. But this method uses the mother tongue as a bridge, a scaffold. They suggest you preview the meaning in your native language first. It removes the anxiety, that fight or flight panic of not understanding. Once you know what's being said, you can relax and just listen to the English to map the sound to that meaning.
It's like peeking at the answers before the test so you can actually learn instead of just failing.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
It lowers the barrier to entry so you can focus on what matters, which is the sound.
I want to zoom out a bit as we wrap up. We've talked about the mechanics, the listening, the etymology, the rules, but reading through these transcripts, there's this surprisingly deep philosophical undercurrent. This isn't just about ordering coffee.
No, it gets existential. The source material references a concept called praxeology.
Praxeology, the study of human conduct, right?
Yes. It comes up with the character Edward in the story. He talks about automatism, the idea that skilled behavior through repetition becomes unconscious and habitual.
That's true for language, but it's true for life.
And then they update Descartes.
I think, therefore I am.
They change it to, I matter because I think and create.
Ooh, that's a step up.
It is. The argument is that there are two types of people. There are those who live in a mechanical loop consuming food, consuming entertainment, just existing.
The consumers.
And then there are those who create, those who leave a mental legacy. Learning a new language is presented as a form of creation. You are creating a new self.
A second soul.
A second soul. Exactly. If you stop learning, stop creating, the source argues you cease to exist in a meaningful way. You're just a biological machine. Learning English, in this framework, is a way to prove you exist.
That is heavy, but also really motivating. It makes the daily grind of listening feel like a spiritual practice almost.
It reframes the struggle. It's not a chore, it's an evolution.
So let's bring it back down to earth. What's the roadmap? If someone listening is inspired and wants to do this, what are they looking at?
It's the ladder to heaven, as they call it. The challenge is clear. About 2 hours of listening a day for 3 years.
2 hours a day? That is a serious commitment.
It sounds like a lot, but remember, a lot of that is blind listening. while you're commuting, doing dishes, walking the dog. The goal is to hit that 2,500-hour benchmark.
Which is the threshold for native level fluency.
That's what's generally considered. Yeah, from 0 to 20,000 words.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
But unlike a marathon where you run in circles, this is a ladder. You can see the rungs. You know where you're going.
And I think that's the most encouraging part. It's not magic. It's math. It's reps. It's body sense.
And ultimately, it's up to you.
Yeah.
There's a phrase in the source material. Paddle your own canoe.
I love that.
The methodology is the canoe. The New Harbor City Dreams is the river. But you have to pick up the paddle. No one can do the listening for you.
Paddle your own canoe. It puts the agency right back in the listener's hands.
It does.
Well, this has been a fascinating look into a completely different way to approach language. It challenges a lot of the assumptions we grew up with.
It certainly does.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talked about how a second language is a second soul. If that's true, does that mean we are limited by the language we speak? If you learn this new vocabulary, these new families of words, are you actually unlocking emotions or thoughts you literally couldn't have had before?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it?
Something to think about while you're doing your blind listening today. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
See you next time.